Howdy, and welcome to LeeReads, where I talk about the books I've been reading and enjoying lately. Happy New Year! 2026 is upon us. But the video that I have today is my December reading wrap-up. December was a little bit odd. I had some personal stuff going on. I lost one of my older pet cats, which was quite sad. Then there was family visiting for the holidays. So my end of year reading and video plans did not quite go how I planned, but that is okay. We persevere, we continue on. These are the books that I read in December to close out the year. We start out with an anticipated sequel, The Strength of the Few by James Islington, which is the next book in the Hierarchy trilogy. The first book is The Will of the Many. I own both books and I would show them to you, except I sent both home with my dad so that he will read them. The Will of the Many was one of my favorite reads, and I think it won my tournament, in my top books tournament, in the year that it came out about 2 years ago. So I've been anticipating The Strength of the Few ever since then. I've spoken about The Will of the Many several times on this channel. It is essentially a Roman-inspired fantasy where the magic system is will. Every human has will, and how the society has been built in this empire, the hierarchy, is that the lower classes of people cede their will up to the higher classes, and so it grows with the magnitude. I've heard it described as a pyramid scheme for magic, kind of is. So the people at the top of the society and at the top of these pyramids are very, very powerful. Our main character has somewhat of a sordid past, has never wanted to cede his will to the empire, but is basically adopted into one of these powerful families in order to infiltrate this magical school his adopted father is sponsoring him to enter, to find out what happened to his adopted father's brother. So that's the main thrust of the first book. The second book has a very unique structure to continue that story, and in fact that unique structure was one of my favorite aspects about this book. However, the downfall of that structure, which I won't get into because of spoilers, is just that I felt less connected with our main character, and with all of the new events that are unfolding, the new places we're exploring, and the new characters we're meeting, it made me feel a little bit untethered. So I'm one of those who enjoyed The Will of the Many more than The Strength of the Few. However, I admire what the author was trying to do with the structure of this story, and I definitely want to know what's going to happen in the next book, whenever it is that comes out. I'm not even sure if it has a title yet. If you were a fan of The Will of Many, you probably have already picked up The Strength of the Few, but if this sort of story setup intrigued you, it does have an aspect of an investigation, also of rebellion, corruption, those overarching themes set into what I think is a really unique way of setting up this magic. I would encourage you to check out these books. I tackled another fairly anticipated book this month, but one where I've read from the author and I've enjoyed some of the books I've read from them and not enjoyed other books. So I didn't rush out and buy this. I got it from the library. But once I finished the library book, I decided, no, I do need to get this for my shelf because I really did end up liking it. That is Fantasies by R.F. Kuang. Also, may I note, I love artwork on the spine. That's so fun. In Fantasies, our main characters are graduate students at Cambridge studying different types of magic. Their advisor has died, and they decide that they need to go into hell to bring him back. Not only because they need him to finish their degrees so they can get good jobs, but there are some other reasons that you explore throughout the book. That is just a fun premise to begin with, and I like how well-read R.F. Kuang has been in all the different takes that there are on hell, which definitely make their appearances throughout this book. This isn't one that relies on footnotes. That's not my favorite type of storytelling, and in Babel, if you've read that one, footnotes were a big thing. This, I think everything, like the information, the readings the characters are kind of synthesizing to make their plan and do some of their decision making, it's a lot more seamless into the overarching plot, which I enjoyed a lot more. because I wasn't getting pulled from the main story to go read footnotes. R.F. Kuang is a very thematic writer, and some people think that she may hit you over the head a little bit too hard with the point that she's trying to make with her books, but I think that she found a really good balance in Catabasis. A big thing would be abuses of power. This book centers that on academia, and in fact, hell, their version of hell, is a college campus. So I think that metaphor is carried pretty well throughout the story. I liked how the author took a look at why are people in academia, why do people study the things they study, that balance between being very passionate about it, but also you get sucked into this grind of producing papers, and what becomes more important? Is it how productive you appear to be, or is it how much you care about what you're really learning? Is it more prestige? Like, why are these various people here in academia? The depth of the character work I really admired. There's a lot of complicated factors into these characters. As a reader, I could understand why these characters would be willing to go through this, even as I'm like, this is a problem, this is not healthy, why are you doing this to yourself? That wasn't very articulate. The setup for hell itself was also very interesting, and the types of magic that the characters do, which relies on paradoxes and being able to suspend disbelief to make magic real, I thought that was really fun. So this is actually one of my favorite books by R.F. Kuang. I think in Catabasis she found the perfect balance for me of an engaging plot, characters, and world building, and also the theme. It wasn't too heavy one way or the other, which I'm very happy with, because some of the reviews I'd been hearing about this book were quite mixed. I'm very glad I picked it up for myself and ended up enjoying it. I also was inspired by a booktube video I watched by Topher's Library, where he was ranking his favorite Agatha Christie novels. I haven't read Agatha Christie before, even though I do enjoy general mysteries from time to time. Based on his recommendations, I picked up Murder on the Orient Express, and I really did try to solve this one as I was reading it. Somehow I have avoided being spoiled. I did not know what the solution was to the mystery, and I enjoyed trying to figure that out. I was right in some aspects, but overall very, very wrong. And I did enjoy where the ending left us off. I want to read more Agatha Christie, and so I asked my husband what is his favorite, and his is Death on the Nile. So that's what I'll be picking up next, and then we'll see what I explore from Agatha Christie going forward. In a superficial way, I know And Then There Were None. I've clearly never read it, but many, many years ago I saw the movie. I don't really remember all the details, so I'm interested in And Then There Were None. She has so many, though, and different investigators that you follow. I would love to know what you recommend that I try from her. Last, I want to talk about an unexpected historical romance series that I've read 3 of the books this month, called the Spy Master series by Joanna Bourne. These are set in France or England in the Napoleonic times, where the spy agencies or the British intelligence service or these various French secret police are working very hard to try to best each other to serve their own nations. The first book follows 2 spies, one French, one British, that are both captured and have to help one another escape. The French spy has what's called the Albion plans, or Napoleon's plans to invade England, and of course everybody wants them. What hooked me from the start with these books is how these characters are written. They're spies, and so they are intelligent, witty, they can think on their feet, they pay attention to detail, and they're very, very competent, which I enjoyed seeing from both sides. The author is sparse in her writing, but each word she picks makes a point, and she leaves the reader to fill in a lot of the gaps. So as these spies are trying to figure out each other and what's going on, the reader is also figuring that out with them. And especially with the French characters, there is such a dry wit, the way they speak, the way that they think of the British. I found that really amusing. When you see characters from different places, they all feel very unique and yet in keeping with where they're from. Each book in the series is following characters in or associated with the British intelligence service in this time. So there is an overarching plot to the international events going on, but each book is like a focus in on the individual task that agent has been set to accomplish, and the person who may be trying to thwart them or help them, depending on the situation. I think the history presented in there is interesting, and these are just fun books that are thriller spy books at heart, with also a very important romantic subplot that really kind of amps up what the characters are having to face. And those are the highlights for what I read in December. 2 big anticipated fantasies, a classic mystery, and some unexpected but fun historical spy thriller romances. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to give me your Agatha Christie recommendations below. I hope that you are having a great start to the new year. And as always, don't forget to support your local library. Thanks. Bye.